established 12 years ago and has since grown to become the second largest vehicles or employ drivers directly. Instead, the individual drivers of cars works as independent contractors for TNCs. Customers request in the past, we used to have this habit because those days they only have one answer response and all the tasks come from the same answer response. But now I don't think you need to do that. But if you want to do that, I wouldn't say you cannot lah. So what we used to do those days is we copy and we put in the answer response, the task. So in a way, it helps you to read the task before you actually read the question. They say Bigo's board of director is about to meet and discuss their current service portfolio, and the requirement is how should it be managed. Now remember, we always say that you must identify the requirement. What do they want you to do? Okay, so they want to talk about their service portfolio and how do you manage. Now, in advance of the meeting, the Chief Marketing Officer has sent the members of the board the current service portfolio information compiled by the marketing department to assist the discussion. So the Chief Finance Officer has asked for your assistance to prepare for this meeting. Prepare a report. Now, this will be the format that you need to do. You have to prepare a report. The report is to the CFO that will assess their current portfolio to determine appropriate strategy to manage the portfolio effectively. Now, professional marks are available to demonstrate your analysis skill in considering and reflecting the information provided by the marketing department. That means you will get good professional marks from accurate answer plus making use of information, because the analysis skills is reflecting on the information that they're going to give it to you. So if you are able to do that, then congratulations. If you're not able to do that, then you will lose a lot of professional marks. So can we read the portfolio information? Now, I don't know whether you can start to imagine what are they asking. You know, I'm just trying to use this as a scratchpad. So this is definitely an area of optimizing a strategic decision topic. Okay, so this is definitely an area of optimizing strategic decision topic. And the topic talks about portfolio and the strategy to manage. Now, I thought that you might want to ask yourself, which are the model or framework that actually relate to the word portfolio. Portfolio is always a word that describes you have many things inside, like many products. So if you can recall this nicely, I think BCG matrix is going to be the answer. Okay. Now, I don't know whether you would have that thoughts in your mind. If you don't have the thoughts, it's okay. Now I'm basically telling it to you. So from here, then you will be able to understand that, okay, so next time when I read the case study, I will know. Just like we did say before, when, example, when the questions mention the word performance excellent, then you know that they are referring to Baldrige, okay? So these are example of words that you should pay attention to. Like if they talk about process and strategy, then you might be thinking, oh, they are actually talking about process strategy matrix, complexity redesign and stuff like that. Okay, so this is basically how you should be looking at it lah. Okay, now so let's read the information. Okay, we know they have 4 business offering. So they say they have ride sharing. It's like the 4 products that they're having. They have ride sharing, they have ride hailing, they have micro mobility, which is the bicycle, and they also have business service. So this business service are those that they aim to work directly with business providers like function and so on. Okay, so let's read this. We read about rental just now, you know. I don't think they mentioned about rental here. You know, as we read, they talk about customer rental, but how come there's no rental? So that means maybe we're not doing that. Okay. Okay. Ride sharing, the market activity and the competition. Now, car, that means you still see there is a possibility you can lose out in the competition if you don't take care, you know. So Bigo is the market leader in micro mobility. No other TNC has invested as heavily, and the market is relatively new compared to ride hailing and ride sharing. So it's like we are telling you the danger. If you don't take care of this segment, very easily that it will be taken over by other. And Zambi definitely is not into it. Maybe because Zambi is a more global company, harder for them to take care. But there's a new player that we have not seen in the case study called Wheels. And there are other, maybe the much smaller one. So this type of business may also be more local based. So you may have one of the local community has their own player, another state may have their own player. So we do not really know lah. Okay, business services. There has been a rapid growth in demand for business transport. Corporate transportation costs have been rising. Many businesses are looking to alternative transport solution for staff and customers are sustainable and cost effective. Market growth is 15%. So business services market is currently quite fragmented. There are many business solutions available and many competitors in this market offering a wide range of business transport solutions. D-Part is a dedicated TNC provider of business service transport solution. They offer only limited transport services to non-business customers. So D-Part is 20%. We are 18. The rest are 68. So actually, if you look at it, we are quite small. Okay. Okay. So I have read up all these things. So if you want to prepare the answer, how do we look at the answer over here? Now, because we're going to use BCG. So let us look at an example. Sorry, this is the one that those days I showed. Do you think if I write something here, let's say, okay, and am I able to copy this and paste it over here now? The answer is no. Okay, so if you're thinking like, oh, well, I want to show this chart here and put it here, the answer is no. All right. If you want to use this to draw your BCG example, you want to put here like format cell. Again, example, like let's say you want to put it, okay, hold on. Okay, let's say I want to put it in this way. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. Format cell, border, outline. Okay. Now, if you want to take this and copy paste, okay, then you basically want to label this as your BCG matrix applied to Bigo. Okay. Now, you can do it here, you know, and then you can like call this as appendix 1. Then you can do all the writing here and labeling here. So for example, you know that this is how we label the market share, and this is how we label the market growth. By all means, you want to do it like that also can. If not, you want to do it here also can. Now, I need you to think through how you wanted to present your answer so that when you're going to the exam, if you come across a question that is in a similar kind of requirement, you know exactly what to do. You understand? Okay, so let's start with the answers. Now, we're preparing a report that is given to the Chief Finance Officer. So let me just confirm that I take the position correctly. So it will be very bad if you say a Chief Financial Officer, you can put Chief Finance Officer, it's not a good thing. Okay, so Chief Finance Officer. Now you are a senior business analyst, and the date will obviously be the current date. Now, because the question say, please assume today is, hold on, today is September. They don't really have a date, right? So you can always put a date as you take exam. You know, like let's say you take exam on the 8th of September 20x4. Then by all means, you just put 8th of September 20x4. So there will always be a subject or a title for a report, right? So what is this title? Go to the requirement. You can see it's current service portfolio. So BGO's service portfolio and strategies and associated management strategies. So we could always start in this way. Now, as usual, we normally can start with an introduction. Okay, we can start with an introduction. Now, how could I start with an introduction? Now, I think one way is you can introduce how you wanted to provide this portfolio analysis. So you are writing to the CFO, you can always say our company. Okay, can you understand? Now you can speak like that. So you can say this report is to assess the existing service portfolio of our company. It's okay. All right. If you don't want to use the word our company, is you want to use the word more formal like BGO. Okay, also can, okay, because at the end of the day, you know, this is a report that you prepare. So you do not know if the report can be used externally. So if it's externally, a more formal notation of referring to the company might be good. Okay, this report is to assess an existing portfolio of BGO using the BCG portfolio matrix. If you can remember what's BCG, then even better lah. Boston Consulting Group's portfolio matrix, which would analyze our services according to the market share and market growth. And with the proper identification of our services in the appropriate quadrant in the BCG matrix, appropriate strategies can be proposed. Now, if you want to put the quadrant, you can put it here. So if you say, sir, I don't want to do like what you're doing because it's very hard to refer, then you can imagine maybe you want to try to use table. Now, if you want to try to use table, then at least how many columns do you need? You will need at least 9, right? Why 9 columns? Because you have to put one side that the market share is high and low. And then the other side is your market growth is high and low. So market growth is high and low, okay? And this one is your market share is high and low. So when you do like that, at least it's more visible, all right? I'm just giving you some suggestions of how you might want to draw diagram in the exam. If you think you have a much more effective way or much more convenient way, by all means, do it yourself, okay? So nothing is not acceptable as long as it is something that you can convey the message across and it's professional enough. You understand? All right, so that's basically what we see over here. Okay, now let's carry on. So can we fill in this quadrant? Can, but I think we need to first explain what exactly is your meaning of market share and your meaning of market growth. Now, there are students that will choose not to put in the diagram because they will say that, hey, very hard to put a diagram. But I can tell you, those students that put in the diagram, they stand a much higher chance to score more professional marks. So if you can do it, it's not difficult. So examiner is just trying to say, yeah, there are students that probably cannot do it, you know. So yeah, examiner is giving you a bit of grace, but honestly, it is something can be done. So do consider what I've said over here. So now I want to introduce and explain to you what exactly is market share. Now, market share is basically the percentage of the customer in the market that is commanded by a player. So in this case, it measures how much of the customer in the market that is with Bigo and other players. Okay. Now, to have high market share, it would require us to be either the market leader or at least close to be the market leader. Now, then only you can actually see whether you are a market share or not. Okay, sorry, high market share or not. Now, whereas your market growth is to measure how attractive the particular service would be, as when a service has high growth, it has a high potential. There would be growth in the market size. Okay, there will be growth in the market size, and there will be increasing volume of customers and businesses. All right. Now, again, it's very hard for us to see whether what exactly is a market growth, high or low. Now, so very often, high market growth is associated with a product at the growth stage of the product life cycle, i.e., maybe it's a newly introduced products that has passed through the introduction stage where it is widely accepted by customers and people are willing to try. Wow, we're just spending so much time to just give you a basic idea that about what is BCG matrix. Remember, it's a 20 marks question and we only have 4 services, Okay, so it's like we have 20 marks question, we have 4 services. So imagine if I'm looking at 4 marks for each service, 2 marks to discuss their position, 2 marks to discuss the strategy. Okay. Follow, so 2 marks to discuss the position, 2 marks to discuss the strategy will fit well into the format. And that will means that you already get 16 marks in your hand. So plus all these intro, you know, even if I just assume I just want to take 2 marks, I think we are scoring a very fair 18 out of 20. And that will give me a good idea of how I should be approaching the question already. Follow? Okay, so this is the first part. And I believe you're going to say, sir, how can write so much and then give me 2 marks? Yeah, so I believe you can score more than 2, but I just want to say, let's go with 2 marks. And this is something not very technical, and it's not even application, it's just theory. The only thing application is I'm just at least trying to write it as though it's BIGO, and I'm talking about the service. Okay. Okay. So now I think we should measure the service already. So let's go back to the portfolio information. Okay. Let's go to the portfolio information. Now, ride sharing, it's something that they have introduced more than 14 years ago, you know. Okay. It's more than 14 years ago. And it seems like this service, from the day they introduced until now, they are unable to get a lot of people to try it. In fact, most people are happy with ride hailing than ride sharing because they are actually a substitute. You either ride share or ride hail. If you ride hail, you don't ride share at it. So if you look at it, you either ride share or ride hail. So if you ride hail, then you won't be ride share. So the market demand is that they are going for ride hailing and not so much on ride sharing. Now, if you ask me, that should put ride sharing to be closer to a low market growth than a high market growth. They have come to a point that I don't think there's a better potential for them to grow already. Because if you go back to the we call, let me just draw here. If you go back to the product life cycle, it's like that one, you know. So you can experience low growth here and low growth here. But are you at this stage or are you at this stage? Now we are at this stage because you have introduced the service for a very long time. So as a result, I think it looks like ride sharing might be, wait, more appropriate to categorize as low market growth. I'm not finished. I'm just explaining to you. But question is, are you at high market share or low market share? That's the question. So if you look at your percentage, you are not even number 2 player. You know, you are way far than number 2. So you are only at 20%. So 38% is actually with Dell. So it looks to me that you are not having a high market share. So I think it's more appropriate to categorize ride sharing as this segment. Okay. Okay. So what about ride hailing? Now, ride hailing in this manner, they still register a very high growth compared to these two. They still have 11%. So definitely, I think it's appropriate to put ride hailing as something of high market growth. But question is, what about our market share? Are we number 1 player? Again, in ride hailing, we are not even number 1. We are number 2, and we are quite far from number 2 also. You still have a big rooms to grow if you compare 50% to 35%. Now, 50% to 35%, you have to understand how big is that? So when I do my analysis, I remember the question gave me the KPI. I think here they also mentioned the KPI of the industry, right? Okay, here they only give the active users. Let me see. Okay, here they give you the the market share. In that case, I think these numbers are better for me. You are talking about okay, you're talking about this is in percentage terms. Sorry, I need something that is more absolute. So if you are having, let's say, about 80, let's say lah, you have about close to 90 million of the rights. So if you say you have 90 million of the rights, and that is about 35%, okay, again, we don't know the exact breakdown, but we're just saying if 90 million is 35%, then 15% is actually an additional 38 million. That's a very, very far gap, you know. So please don't think that it's only 15%. What I'm trying to show is a big gap, okay? So that would suggest to me ride-hailing is a high market growth, but it's a low market share. And we call this as question mark. Okay, we call this as a question mark, and we call this as a dot, okay? The label is a dot, all right? Okay, then going back to the next service, micro mobility. So micro mobility definitely has a very high market growth. It's very newly introduced. It was only 5 years ago. So that means micro mobility is at, if you look at your product life cycle, micro mobility is at this stage. It's the beginning. It's experiencing very high growth. So that is very healthy. All right. And not only is very healthy, it's very high market share. You are definitely the key player. But because the growth is still growing, you wouldn't call this as a cash cow. That means you still have potential of losing star product. So here we have micro mobility. All right. Okay. So the last product is business services. Now, business services, they seems to tell me, again, let me go back a little bit. I have forgotten some of the detail here. So that's the problem. That's why when you do the answers, you really have to read back, right? So they tell me about business services. What they do is they actually offer services to commute to events and meeting. Okay, so what about BIGO? Anything that they mention about business services? Not quite, right? So only 5%. Okay, only started 2 years ago. So it's something new. I need to know this is something new. So the fact that this is something new suggests to me that this is a product that still have good potential. So if you have a 15% market growth, that means you are still expecting a high market growth over here, okay? Looking at your market share, you are so small. So definitely you have a very low market share. So this is your business services. So at this point, none of your product is actually a cash cow. Okay, so that means you actually need a lot of money to raise fund. You need a lot of money to raise fund. We don't even know if there's anything mentioned about where that you're going to get the money and whether there's a cost or not. So maybe if you don't mind, I just want to do a quick go through. What is this information here? Business proposition, investment. That one is money they need for this investment. They never tell me where they're going to get the money. is the disruptive. Okay. Well, fine. All right. Okay. So now we can do the analysis. All right. Now, so the table above has presented that Bigo has two services labeled under the question mark categories. One under the star and another under the dog label. Okay. There is no cash cow service at the moment. Now, detailed analysis and management strategy is discussed as follows. So now we will go in. Now, maybe we can start with the two products. So let's go on with the question mark services. Okay, we want to explain why do you say that ride hailing and business services are high growth. Okay. Now, remember, we need to use heading, right? So we want to start with ride hailing. Okay. So put a heading. If you want to use a point to write, that's fine, because in the report, you can present it in this manner. Okay. There's nothing wrong with that. All right. Now, so ride hailing is expected to see a very high growth of how many percent? Now, if you read back, it says that 11% per annum. Now, with the growing population at BLAN, sorry, I need to go back to the information to read what's happening in BLAN. Now, with a population of 200 million and is still growing. Now I have a problem like, okay, where is the information that tells me that they're still growing? You know, you really going to like look through. That's why the more you read this, the easier you inch the detail. And our problem is we just read it once now. Okay, the last time I read it was very long ago. Let's try if you can use a search function. You see, if you search, you can see you can look at the word population. Okay, population, all right. Growth. Where's the word growth? Okay. Oh, sorry, it was here. Okay, the urban population, it was here. All right, now, so with a growing population expected to be 10% in the next 6 years from a base of 200 million, this would be promising market size for ride hailing. So I think we want to justify that there would be increasing number of ride hailing users expected in BLAN. Sorry, I need to know. Yeah, BLAN, BEA in BLAN. So this is my justification of why it is a high market growth. All right. Now, there are increasing urbanization with lower or with reducing vehicle ownership and also frustration with the existing public transportation system over bus and train, which are all contributing favorably to the ride-hailing market. Now, that is my justification of why it is a good market growth. You see that? So now the question is, okay, then how do you say that you are under a low market share? So this will definitely must come back to your market size, okay? Now, Bigo is the second largest player in ride-hailing, still by far lagging behind the first player. What's the name? Zenbi. That commands a 50% market share. Okay. Now, with the estimate provided in the 20x uh, 20x3 Bigo's KPI, where the rides completed were around close to 90 million. At 15% gap, this would be around, now we just take 90 million divide by 35 and 15, because you're having 35%. Commanding 35% market share is still far behind, is still by far lagging behind. So that would be around 17 million rides a year. Okay, now this would mean that Bigo has to compete aggressively to win the market share over. However, it is not something discouraging, as Bigo has been successfully win the customers from Zenbi since its inception 12 years ago. Now, I want to tell you why your answers will go well with the examiner. Now, when you give information like this, you don't need to bold your answer, but I want to bold it and tell you, when you mention the KPI information, when you mention about 90 million, when you mention like there is a 15% gap because it's a 35% and 50%, when you mention about the 12 years, what it's giving the examiner is, hey, you really know what's happening. You really make the answers stay very close to the case study, because it appears to me that you have put the information in your mind. So you're not just simply, a very lousy answer is students just come in and say, ride-hailing is high market growth because it's 11% market growth. Bigo is not having a high market share, a low market share, because Bigo is the second player. Not good. You are not giving enough detail. So I hope I am giving you some insights about how you can approach your exam and how you can pass your SBL paper. The moment you write like that, I can confirm you sure pass one. You just need to know what you're doing. Now, the student would have failed this question if you don't know that you need to use BCG. That's because you fail to recognize the word called portfolio. And then if you don't know how to analyze the product, because the professional marks is analysis, okay? Okay, so what's your strategy? Okay, now, BIGO is required to continuously invest to turn this question mark into a star by continuously gaining on its market share. Now, whatever strategies that BIGO had deployed over the last couple of years seems to be effective and should continue. I mean, to be honest, if you ask me, I think you're doing very well. What you look at the chart, you have been winning the competition. And you're telling me, why are you not able to win? I think you should be able to win. So you should always continue to write on this. All right. Now, what other things that you might want to ask BIGO to do is obviously because it's a technological based product. Now, as this is technological based services, it is important to bring fresh ideas on what the apps can offer, like greater customization, flexibility to retain customers, and strategies to win new customers, like referral system for rebates or incentive, or you can have all these family I don't know whether you can say family plan or a family grouping where a group of users can be identified as a similar cluster to share common perks.